Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and today I have 3 stories for you from the IDontWorkHereLady subreddit. This story comes to us from TraditionalGur4130. What are you going to do? Fire me? Let's jump right in. I was shopping at Target. Mind you, I was wearing a blue shirt and sweatpants. Nothing close to the red and khaki that we all know. It was slow with very few people. A total Karen comes around the corner with a very rude and loud, "Excuse me." I ignore her since there's no reason why I would need to acknowledge her. She comes closer to me while shoving my cart down the aisle and says, "I need you to grab that box for me now." I just laugh at her and say no. I'm short, 4'11", but would try to help a stranger reach the highest shelves item if they asked kindly. But this lady was just too rude to engage. Anyway, she says, "You're just standing there going back and forth in the aisles, pretending like you're busy." I told her, and at this point, I'm thoroughly amused by her absurd and rude demeanor. Duh, I gotta do all my shopping while I'm here. I'm not gonna go home without the stuff I need. And of course, she proceeds to say, "Listen, young lady, you're not gonna get away with speaking to me like that." The young lady was the most amusing, because it was absolutely an on-brand, condescending thing to say. So I told her, if you can find my manager, you should tell them that. I bet she won't have a problem with me shopping right now. So she storms off like I had hoped at this point. I decided that it was time to find out if she found my manager. She found a manager, and I walk near them. She points at me and tells the person, "That's her. She was disrespectful and refused to help me so she can shop." I had to give it all I had to not burst out laughing. The manager said, "Ma'am, she is a customer here as well. She does not work here." So instead of admitting to being a jackbutt, she asked, "Well then, why did you try to tell me to get your manager?" I simply and calmly said, "The offer still stands. Go out and find my manager and tell them everything. Megan, manager's name tag, isn't my manager." I was proud of myself for this one. I get passive aggressive and sometimes rude when people are like this, and I end up regretting it later and wishing that I had more tact. My calmness in the situation pissed her off the most, I believe. It got me thinking a few days afterwards as well. I live in a touristy destination, and while most people are delightful, there is a small population of out-of-touch people who think that everyone is there to serve them. But I suppose that is the case everywhere. But these people were particularly on my mind at this moment. I was shopping at the local grocery outlet for some batteries, quick trip. I'm browsing batteries and looking at my options as this one lady passed 3 employees to bark an order at me over not being able to find a ladle. Now, grocery outlet is one of those stores that may or may not have odds and ends like ladles, and that's just the nature of it. But I digress. I think the barking triggered me, so I said, probably a little too rudely, "What makes you think I work here?" She tried to pretend like she didn't just bark something at me and started to walk away. So I said, "No, I want to know what about me made you think that shopping is the last possible reason I could be here right now." She walked away sheepishly. I get a phone call from my partner a few minutes later while I was waiting in checkout and tell him what had just happened, as she and her family are in line behind me. While talking on the phone, I had said, "These people have the audacity to bark at people, and they literally think that any warm body is there to serve them. We need to promote employees to be rude back, because it's not like these people would be nice anyways, since they just jump into barking orders without a please, or thank you, or hello." And then I said my phone goodbye and hung up to move to the cashier. I look at the family and tell the mom, "If you still can't find a ladle, they're right over there." I pointed to the aisle. It is one of literally 2 grocery stores in the county, so I've spent many days shopping the whole store and familiarized with its setup. She just shrugs it off, and her husband sheepishly laughed it off and said, "Oh, it's okay. It's not that important. No worries." I said, "Really?" It almost seemed like life or death with the way y'all asked. Again, maybe I was out of line, but there is no reason why anyone should approach anybody, especially employees, like that. A third time, I was shopping at Ulta and noticed a lady following me down each aisle. She finally approached me and said, "Excuse me, but I need help finding insert item here." I told her I don't work here, but I'm happy to help find it together. And she said, sure, maybe until I run into someone that works here. And we proceeded to browse a couple of aisles and had a lovely brief discussion about our favorite skincare items. So it's not being asked for help or thinking that I work there, but how it is asked. Some people think that they can talk down to anybody, and they use someone's employment as leverage to get away with speaking to people like that. I support, as someone in the service industry as well, a movement to not necessarily be rude to customers, but to mirror their behavior. Take away their power. I'm not even bothered if someone is short with me or even not cordial, but don't be straight up rude. OP, your experiences were truly off the target. They were examples of outrageous customer behavior. In the aisle of entitlement, you checked out with dignity, not folding under the pressure of their misplaced barcodes of conduct. Your knack for stocking up on patience and scanning the situation for a priceless response is a special offer indeed. This story comes to us from Russell G000. Hibachi fun. Let's jump right in. This happened just yesterday afternoon. My wife convinced me to go to a tulip farm. Spent the time picking up tulips, paying for them, and having to stand and walk around for 3 hours of Instagram pictures is not fun. By the end of that event, we were tired and hungry. I wanted to eat somewhere fun and found a hibachi place. My kids were excited and my wife was happy with her haul. We ended up arriving at the hibachi place and led to our seats. Great service by the staff, more on that later. I forgot to mention that I had a toddler and wanted a high seat for my daughter so she can see the griddle. The staff pointed to one of the wait staff and indicated I needed a high chair. I was 10 feet from the chair and the waitress was further away. I waved her off and grabbed the chair myself. As I returned to the table, another couple was being led to the other side of our table. Each hibachi setup has 9 to 10 people, so I stopped to let them pass. After passing, a woman turned around and said something to me, but it was noisy and I was concentrated on getting my daughter seated. As I struggled with the seatbelt, I felt a tap on my shoulder, but I sat my daughter first. After seating my daughter, I turned around and the same lady was literally inches from my face, telling me a bunch of things. I giggled and told her, sorry, I don't work here. Now, I don't know why she thought I did at all. Everyone who worked there was dressed in black and white. I was wearing a t-shirt, had mud on my shoes, and my hair was tossed around like I haven't slept in days. However, she insisted and kept raising her voice at me. Granted, it was noisy. I repeated that I don't work here. She then was heated, yelling, getting angry, saying that it was about her food allergies and if she got sick, she would sue me. At this point, I was tired and told her, I don't care about your allergies because I don't work here. She put her finger in my face, and then my wife notices, gets up, swats her hand away, and stood between this lady and I. My wife clarifies that I don't work there, turns around and sits me down, and this lady keeps raising her voice that I was rude to her. At this point, her husband was red and grabbed to sit her down. This interaction lasted for less than a minute. The staff came by and calmed everyone down and made sure everyone was seated. They asked if I wanted to be moved. I said no, I was fine where I was. Then asked the lady if she wanted to be moved, and she said no, but seemed pretty pissed off. The hibachi chef has noticed all this as he rolled his cart in. He started his routine, and my wife and kids loved it. I just sat there happy as a clam that everyone was having a great time while I would get to eat. At this point of the dinner, the hibachi chef started spraying my kids with water, which they loved. And for the adults, he would spray them with white wine from a bottle to loosen them up. When he gets to me, he gives me a really long dose and says, "You need a double, you work overtime today." I thought this was hilarious. As he went around giving all the adults a spray of wine, he gets to the lady and gives her the tiniest spray and says, "Maybe not too much for you." She giggles but was obviously not entertained. As he does his routine, we had a good time and ate good food. My kids loved it, and to me, that was the important part. Now, after the routine, the chef started cleaning up. He tosses a clean rag and scraper near me, and without missing a beat, I yelled, "Yes, boss," got up, and started scraping off the grill. The chef started barking at me even more. I moved faster and more frantically. Then, a waitstaff brings a mop and bucket, and I started mopping. Everyone was laughing. My kids were going crazy. It was hilarious to me at the least. So, to add to it, I spontaneously asked everyone to give a generous tip for the show, even though it wasn't necessary, and they did, except for you-know-who. I was finally urged back to my chair with clapping from my family. Chef gave a handshake for being a good sport and went on his way. We finished eating and getting served dessert. We then hear talking from the corner where the couple is now arguing because she was mad at me and her husband allowed it all to happen. I really felt bad at that point and just wanted everyone to leave on a good note. I apologized about the interaction earlier because it was easy for me, had no stake in their argument, and it did seem to help. We finished eating and packed up our stuff to leave. As we were leaving, this lady was at the lobby complaining to the manager about everything. My wife stopped and chimed in. Apparently, the manager already knew, made it clear to the lady to calm down, and in the most racist Asian accent said, "Oh, sorry, no refund, now you go home." The lady was getting pulled by her husband to the parking lot at this point. Sorry, dude. Then that manager turns to us in the most New Jersey accent. I can't believe that accent worked. I hope you guys had a great time. He proceeded to talk to my wife and kids while his staff helped me get our stuff into the car. He walked us out and gave my kids some takeaway snacks. Loved it. Overall, it was a fun day. Well, OP, it sounds like quite the budding disaster at the tulip farm blossomed into a hilarious hibachi hoobaloo. Despite the woman's grilling, your wife stepped in and turned up the heat, making sure the situation didn't boil over. You then proved to be quite the stir-fry, sizzling up some fun and laughter with your impromptu cleaning act. And to top it all off, the manager served up a side dish of surprise with his authentic accent. This story comes to us from Milky Beachburger 69. I can't work everywhere, can I? Let's jump right in. Forgive me if this isn't the right place for this. I don't frequently post on Reddit, primarily just a passive scroller. Please let me know if I need to make any edits or if I'm breaking any rules, and I'll fix it. I have been asked questions from random patrons in completely random types of retail stores, restaurants, corporate offices that aren't mine, car dealerships, etc. You name it, I have probably been asked if I work there, or asked a question by a patron assuming I work there without even thinking about it. Recently, I was in a Target store in my city just picking up some snacks for the road trip I was going on the next day. I'm wearing a blue t-shirt, joggers, and black sneakers. Thankfully, this was not a rude patron. I was approached and asked, "Excuse me, do you work here?" I asked because of the blue shirt you're wearing in Target. Completely ignoring the fact that I had a basket full of road tripping snacks, mind you. I take about 10 seconds to calmly respond with, "No, I don't work here." 10 seconds to give them a chance to think about what they just said, and think about, does this make sense? I just walk away with my items awkwardly and no longer acknowledging this person and their presence. Also recently, I was walking around a department store looking through some shorts to try on. Here in this store, I am wearing a golf shirt, shorts, and a pair of loafers. While browsing and holding a pair, I ended up trying on and buying. I hear a random, "Could you help check out so I can leave?" while being tapped on my shoulder. I take a very long stare at this man, just thinking to myself, what the heck about anything I'm wearing gives you any indication that I work here? Before simply stating that I did not work there. The immediate response from this clearly confused man is, "Well, what am I supposed to do if you don't work here and can't help me?" I just immediately walk away, mildly annoyed at the sheer confusion of this clueless soul. At a car dealership, I had an appointment to have my car serviced for an oil change, as well as a couple of maintenance-related items. I'm sitting in the waiting room while waiting on the mechanics to finish working on my car. I'm working on my work laptop while wearing a collared short-sleeve shirt that had the name of my company on it, slacks, and a pair of loafers. just completely minding my own business getting some work done, when out of nowhere, I hear what sounds like a Karen yelling, "Get me your manager!" with several footsteps approaching me, and what I assume to be an employee trying to calm this person down. I try to ignore it until I feel breathing directly in my face, and this woman is standing directly over me in the chair, furious about something of which I am not sure. I try to ignore this woman until she yells out at me, "Are you just going to sit there? Your employee is being extremely rude, and I deserve a discount. Give it to me now." I just simply respond with, "Do I know you? I don't work here. Please leave me alone." By this point, enough employees at the dealership had come over to separate this woman from the other employee there and I roll my eyes at her as she is escorted out of the building, and she continued to point at me and yell something. I wasn't able to make it out as it was unintelligible. This is only a few of these countless occasions. I honestly mind it a lot less if the person asking happens to be polite and friendly. However, it's still fairly annoying in my view, since it just seems to be that nobody is walking through the logic of if this random somebody works here based on their attire. None of these made sense in my view, and understand that it's only a minor inconvenience to me, but I simply find these unsolicited asks to be irritating. Does anybody else here experience this on a regular basis the way I do? I'm genuinely curious. Well, OP, it seems like you've become a walking punchline, a victim of mistaken identity at every turn. You're practically a professional do-you-work-here magnet, attracting clueless customers with your fashion choices. From blue shirts in Target to golf shirts in department stores, your wardrobe has become a costume for the role of a helpful employee. It's like you're caught in a never-ending game of guess who works here, where logic and common sense are in short supply. Stay strong, my friend, and may your future encounters be filled with customers who actually know where they are and whom they're addressing. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.